everybody, it's Romania Black. So we have 4 episodes left. 4! 4 episodes left. 1 month of Death Note left. And then we have the musical, we have the Netflix, we have other things that we're going to watch with Death Note, but 1 month of the actual series. And I'm excited because I want to get the manga and read it, and I want to watch the musical, and I want to watch these other things. I want to be able to talk without spoilers, but we still have 4 episodes left, so holy cow, okay. As I wipe hair out of my face. I really enjoyed, ever since Mikami's come on the scene, it's made things a lot more tense, and now Kiyomi's involved. Misa, I worry about her. I'm like, girl, she's gone off the deep end, being it's so funny because Misa was so scary in this series for the longest time because she was what do we do with her? She could just fly off the handle and kill anybody for Light. And now she doesn't have the Death Note. But I still think I think it's a testament to Misa that her character is still kind of intimidating. Even though she seems like she embarrasses herself in the last episode with getting drunk, there's still an aspect of Misa that I'm is a little unhinged, that I'm Kiyomi seems like she's crazy, but I'm nah, Misa girl, Misa would stab you and not think twice. That's the thing, right? Kiyomi has a reputation. Misa don't care. So I do have some comments before we start episode 34. But I went back just now and watched the English dub. And man, the English dub was really good for this episode. And the voice actresses that played Misa and Kiyomi at that dinner scene, just the cattiness under it all, especially for Kiyomi's voice actress, was top notch, right? But Mikami, going back through the English dub and talking about him, when he has that interview, whenever Nier figures out that it's Mikami and listens to him, and he's talking about that interview, he's talking about how people need to act for themselves and how they need to just get the conviction that they have and roll with it and not follow directions and make their own decisions. And I'm yeah, he is supporting Light right now because he thinks Light's God, but that kind of mentality, I'm Mikami, I could just see flying off the handle and being crazy. And I'm I don't know, Light. He seems yeah, he's somebody you wanted for your cause, but he seems a little bit like a wild cannon. I don't know. And then Kiyomi, she seems like she thinks she's too smart for her own good. She thinks she's smarter than Misa and everybody else. And I'm Light, putting yourself with all these smart people is a great thing, but I don't know. And that kind of leads us to our comments in this. Ashy Roy had a really good comment about Misa, and kind of Misa, kind of her brain being mush at this point, because yeah, I kind of hadn't realized this, but she had the Death Note and was using it extensively for 6 years of her life. Her primary objective those 6 years was using the Death Note for Light. And when you take away that Death Note, then, and all the memories surrounding it, then all she has left from those 6 years she can draw from her own memory is living for Light, which is insanity. So I'm I don't blame her for being a little bit off her rocker, because her mind is probably screwed up without those memories. It's wild, right? So that big chunk of her life being missing, that's really fascinating. And then Alex Cornejo had a great comment about yeah, I'm sure cheating on a Yandere will go fine. Because yeah, Misa's so a Yandere, she'd kill for Light and has killed for Light. So I'm she's a bit Yandere still, even without the Death Note. So I'm yeah, making her mad. Kiyomi, honestly, Kiyomi is threatening because she's smart, right? She's smarter than Misa, and that makes her threatening. But in the same vein, I'm I don't know if Kiyomi's as crazy as Misa. Maybe she will be when she starts using the Death Note, and has been using the Death Note. She kind of lies to Misa and is I would never kill anyone, no matter how horrible they are. And I'm that's a lie. So maybe you and Light are meant for each other because you're just as big of a liar as Light is. Maybe, Kiyomi. Maybe. Maybe Kiyomi and Light are meant for each other because they're such liars. Who knows? But I thought that was really funny, Alex. And then Mr. Super Tall Black Man had a really good comment about how Mikami, I said in the last several reactions that what has separated, what makes, Misa, what makes Mikami scary is that he doesn't love Light like how Misa does, right? And Mr. Super Tall Black Man said that, Mikami worships Light. And I would say Mikami worships Kira. Mikami doesn't worship Light. Mikami worships the idea of Kira. And I do think there's a difference there. I really like that he pointed that out. But the thing about it is that Misa, both Misa and Mikami inadvertently do worship the ground that Light walks upon. However, Misa likes Light for Light. Kira was just an added bonus. And Mikami, though, Mikami doesn't care about Light Yagami. Mikami cares about Kira. And my fear is that Mikami will eventually, his ambition with justice is not like Misa at all. I feel like Misa didn't have this ambition to like follow her own like moral code surrounding justice. She just followed Light because she liked him. So at the end of the day, she was not going to act against Light Yagami because it was Light Yagami and she was in love with him. Mikami, on the other hand, even though he worships Kira, he doesn't love Light. So if Mikami believes, like he said in that interview to Kiyomi, that he should make his own decisions based on his moral convictions and his dedication to society, he may decide to forego Light and be like, screw you, Light, but I'm going to uphold the word of Kira. He seems like that kind of religious zealot that would kill Light to keep the word of Kira going. He gives me that vibe. And I'm like, don't like where this is headed. So, but I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see where this heads. I've had a few people say that there's like a ship between Light and Mikami. It's a one-sided ship, but I can see it. Right, but that was a really cool comment. Thank you for noting that. CR talks about how CR did make a good point. You know what? I give Light a lot of crap. I want him to lose, and I want Nier and Mellow to win. But if I'm going to play devil's advocate for Light, I will say this. Light is not using Kira's powers for fame or money. He is doing it he wants to be a god. So I guess fame, perhaps. I guess he is using it for fame because he wants to be a religious figure. But he's not using it for money. He's not like Demagawa that is trying to scam people out of their wealth. He is legitimately trying to enact his own brand of justice. There's just lots of problems with it. So, so there's that, right? But I will give Light credit that he doesn't go like the zealot route where he's like a hypocrite and trying to use it to make himself a prophet. There is that. So I will give Light Yagami that. A good point, CR. I'm glad you brought that up. EQ had a really cool thing because I talked about how like Mikami looks like the love child between Light and L. And EQ brought up that, like in a theater show, if this were a theater show, and I don't know, I told him it'd be really cool if the musical would do this, but they probably have separate actors because it's a bigger production. But it would be really cool. It wouldn't surprise me, like, if you've ever watched a stage show, sometimes you have a character that's in the first act of the show, but is not in the second act. And so that same actor will play both the character from the first act and the second act because they never are in the same scene together. So EQ was saying, you could totally see if an actor was playing L in the first half, that they come back and reprise their role only as Mikami because they have the long hair and look kind of similar. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And EQ had this idea that, you'd have the actor playing L and they'd be like slouched and have really bad posture. And then when they straighten themselves up, they become Mikami. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. So I would love it if in the stage show or the musical, the same actor playing L also played Mikami. That would be really freaking cool. But that probably won't happen because they could probably afford to have two actors. Probably won't happen, but don't spoil me, but that would have been really cool. I was like, I like that mechanism. And also know that Mikami is another M. Although we have L, Light Yagami, we have K for Kira, we have L for L and for Light. You have Nier, that's M, Mellow is M. I will note that the show makes Mikami X Kira, right? An X Kira, and Takeda is T. So, but if we were going with M's, I'm like, is this going to be like a Highlander thing? There can be only one M, only one. It's either Mellow or Mikami. Are we leading to that? Could there be something like that? There can only be one L, Light or L. So what do we do with that? I don't know. Don't spoil me. We'll see. We'll see what happens, right? There can be only one. And then Kaylin V talked about how I like Kaylin V as well as Alexander Q pointed out that Izawa, geniusly enough, kind of secured his own safety by telling Light that he listened to Nier's conversation in front of the task force. Because if you think about it, Aizawa's now got a cushion because he's like, I've told everyone in the room, Light as well as the task force, that I talked to Nier. So if I die, the suspicion is instantly going to go on Light. Everyone is instantly going to suspect Light if I die. So Aizawa's gave himself some insurance, right? And now, of course, you could argue that Light could just kill all of them, but we'll see where that goes. But I hadn't noticed that in the reaction, and I'm glad you all pointed that out because that was a really good note to make. I feel like Aizawa has become the spiritual successor of Daddy Yagami. We've seen like the scene of him and his daughter, kind of like Daddy Yagami with Light and Seiyu. Like, I feel like he's become this spiritual successor to Soichiro. And I like that a lot. I love Aizawa's character. I've really come to enjoy him in this series quite a bit. And then finally, Alexander Q. Alexander Q noted, why didn't anybody comment about Ryuk being gone? Like, he's been with Mikami in all the scenes we've seen him in. So is nobody suspicious that suddenly, now that there's a new Kira on the scene, Ryuk's not there? Does that not strike anybody as odd? And the only thing I told Alexander Q was that maybe we don't see it because we don't have time, or maybe it's in the manga, but maybe Ryuk is going back and forth and the show just doesn't have time to show us. It's trying to wrap up in this certain amount of episodes. It just doesn't have time. So I don't want to know the answer, though. If it's in the manga, I'll find out when I read it. But I do think that that's interesting that, yeah, we don't really see Ryuk, but could be a lot of reasons for that, right? Could be a lot of reasons, and we just don't know. So, but I really liked that. I thought that was great. But y'all, we have 4 episodes left to wrap up this series. And it does feel like what I'm afraid is going to happen is, especially going back and rewatching the dub, I feel like they're setting Giovanni up to die. They're setting Giovanni up to be following Mikami. I'm sure that Light knows that Nier may be figuring out that Mikami is the other one. Maybe he's anticipating they figure out Mikami and they trail him. I'm afraid that they're going to follow Mikami, track him down and try to convict him. He'll have the fake notebook and then he will tell or show something to Kiyomi and she will kill Giovanni. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that Giovanni's going to die from trailing Mikami, and I'm afraid that Lidner's going to die from being close to Kiyomi. So I'm afraid that Giovanni and Lidner are going to die, and it's just going to be Rester and Nier, which is terrifying because then we're back to like Watari and L all over again. Because there is a parallel there between between Iber and Webby and Lidner and Giovanni. There's a parallel there. So I'm like, I don't know. I worry that Nier and Mellow are going to be the last two. Everybody else is going to die around them. The question is, are they going to beat Light or are they not? We got 4 episodes left to find out. And what's Misa going to do in all this? What's Light going to do? Ugh. How's this engagement going to go? I don't know. I'm just absolutely terrified of what the last 4 episodes are going to bring. So please no spoilers, but I can't wait to find out. But we're going to find out shortly, right? So let's not waste any more time. We are going to start episode 34 of Death Note. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So, we have 3 episodes left after this. And God, yeah, we feel like it's the weirdest feeling because on one hand, it feels like, yes, we are ramping up to something. Everything's starting to escalate and the scales are starting to tip and Nier's like, I didn't come to Japan to make friends. But what I'm afraid of is I'm like, I don't know which way they're going to tip. And I'm like, what's happening? What's going to be going along with it? Like, it's just, I'm terrified because there's a lot of things at work in this episode, like under the surface. And it feels like everything's ramping up. Like things are starting to tip out of hand and get crazy. But in the same vein, there's this little voice in the back of my head that's like, Light's gonna win this whole thing, isn't he? Isn't he? He's gonna win this whole damn thing. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I actively root for Light's downfall, and there's a voice in the back of my head that's like, he's gonna kill Nier and Mellow and all of them and win in the end, and I'm gonna be bitter. And I'm like, no! But I don't know. There's just a lot at work here, and it feels like things are going down, and they're getting set up, and I can't believe we have 3 episodes left. I'm like, absolutely floored, right? But we need to talk about this episode because I wanted to bring my board Kun out, and what a weird episode. It's such a weird episode. Vigilance, right? The idea that this episode all but confirms that the notebook that Mikami has that Giovanni is like looking over and using is a fake, right? And I feel like both Light and Nier are getting cocky and confident in each other and where they're at in all of this. And there's something, Mellow is the third party. Mellow is the party that will make this like an utter batch of chaos. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Because you have on the one hand, I want to bring out here, we've got Light, okay? Light over in this corner who like believes that he has everything under control. It's fine. He's smart. He's got the perfect pieces at his disposal. We'll talk about those perfect pieces. And then you have Nier over here who has his pieces here. And then I'm going to put over here, I'm going to put Mogi and Aizawa. Mogi and Izawa and Misa. I'm gonna put them over here. Like, for the most part in this episode, Matsuda is just here for the gossip. Matsuda's like, this is like a reality TV show. And I'm like, Matsuda, there are people dying. But it's like, no. Matsuda's just like eating this up. And Ide's always been like that very, very neutral party where Ide's like, I'm surprised Mogi's gotten involved with this, but he's with Misa, so it makes sense. I feel like Mogi and Izawa, I don't know. I talked about right before the reaction that Izawa has a little bit of insurance on him, that if anything happens to him. And I think that insurance is letting him get a little bit more bold, right? And figuring things out. So we'll talk about this. But yeah, Giovanni, I get the sinking suspicion that Giovanni is in very big danger because all that Mikami has to do is take a picture of Giovanni, send it to Kiyomi, and she can kill him, right? And she can kill him. So I'm like, what do we do with this? But we're going to talk about Mikami. I'm going to put Mikami over here. Mikami here. And I'm going to put Kiyomi over here. Okay. And put them there. So, God, there's just so much being set up in this episode. I do worry about Giovanni. So Nier's plan was to get Giovanni close to prove the Shinigami was there, right? That we have to assume if the Shinigami discovers that he'll alert Mikami, which is a fair thing, right? So Nier wants to confirm. He wants to confirm that Ryuk is there. I'm sad we didn't see Ryuk in this episode. I was like, no, but Ryuk seemed to leave, so I don't know where he's planning on going to. But here's the thing. This is what Light's planning, I'm sure, is that Light, the notebook that Mikami has is fake. It is a fake notebook, right? Again, because Light is using Mikami, right? He's using Mikami to do it. He's like, it's a fake notebook and is going to lure Nier and Giovanni and also throw them off the trail, right? It's just to distract them, right? It's just to distract them while Light is, and just keep them until he can get them cornered, right? But here's the other thing, is that with that same token, right, is the idea that when Mikami was talking to himself, I feel like that was staged. I feel like it was staged, so it seemed like Ryuk wasn't there. But we saw the little piece of paper move and stuff, so Ryuk was there. I feel like they've just set it up to where Mikami is saying that to try to make Nier think that Ryuk isn't there the whole time, but that he is there. And how do we know he's not telling Light what's going on? How do we know that this, in 2 episodes, Light's not going to reveal that Ryuk's been following Giovanni around the whole time and has been luring Nier there? How do we not know that's been going on, right? And that Mikami has just been used as a prop to like set up Nier and them and to lure them to it. So that's what makes me worried for Nier. I'm worried Nier is going to get lured to Mikami and then Light's going to kill him from there, because I'm like, I just worry, right? So I'm like, will Nier discover that the notebook, it's a fake, right? He thinks that in 23 to 24 days after touching the notebook, that if he was going to die, if his name was so if he was being used by Light, Nier is saying, okay, well, it could be that Mikami and Light and them are using Giovanni right now and making it to where he can't talk about the Shinigami. And so they can only be, once their name is written in the notebook, they can only be alive like 23, 24 days afterwards. So he's like, okay, afterwards, that's the case. Then if he does not die, then Nier is going to go after L, or after Light. I keep calling him L in the reactions because everyone in the show now calls him L, so it's just like sticking with me. And then he's going to go after Light. So I'm like, I don't think Giovanni's going to die because it's a fake notebook. And I think that Nier is going to go after Light. And I think that's exactly what Light wants. And so my fear is that Light's going to lure Nier in and kill him, right? That he's just using Giovanni as bait to lure him in, right? That's what I'm afraid of. And I'm just like, I don't want Nier to die, right? Mellow is sort of the wild canonist. And the one thing where Nier, he's sanding or filing. He's filing at the Mellow figure, right? Almost, you would think on the surface like he was like grinding away at him, like making him disappear, but I would argue I think he's sharpening Mellow, because Mellow has been working with Nier, whether they want to admit it or not. He has been, they wiretapped the house, so he knows about Misa. So Mellow has been working inadvertently with Nier. And so I feel like Nier is going to throw Mellow at Light, and Mellow's going to be okay with that because he wants to get to Light too, to make things even more chaotic. That's the thing. When Light was just focusing on L alone and that was it wasn't such a big deal. But now he's got Nier, he's got Mellow, he's got Aizawa, he's got all of them suspecting him now more than ever. And so it's just kind of throwing all this at Light, and it's like, can Light handle it? And he's got Misa. I love that Misa's still a thorn in Light's side. I love it. Misa is a thorn to the end. She's a thorn to the light side. And I'm like, what the hell? That is the one aspect of this where I know Light's supposed to be pretending to date Takeda, but like if you're Mogi and Aizawa, it's like, come on, you can see the writing on the wall. Matsuda thinks it's all just juicy and like it's feeding his soap operas, but I'm like, Light is not acting like, Light does not seem overtly concerned about Misa being captured by Nier. He doesn't seem concerned at all. And I'm like, back in the past, when Misa was being threatened, like, you know, he was all like, L, how could we let this happen? But Misa, and now it's like, Light doesn't care because he's got Kiyomi. He's like, well, I can't use Misa anymore. Let whatever happen to her. If she dies, who cares? And so it's like, I wonder, I'm like, Aizawa, Mogi, you guys probably noticed that something's up with that, right? That Light's being a little distant, not as caring about Misa as he normally has been. I think what I love about this is that Mogi and Aizawa, they pretty much have narrowed it down. They figured it out. The whole thing about the notebook paper that they're passing notes, giving it away. Now my question is Light just so cocky at this point that he thinks they can't do anything about it and so he just lets it go? Or is Mogi and Aizawa knowing about the notebooks part of his plan? At this point, he's like, damn, Aizawa, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, I intended for you to figure out that we were passing notes for whatever reason. I don't know. Because he said what? He said that only two out of the 4 were changed. So would Light have checked all the notebooks? Would he have known to do so? You wouldn't think they would have known to do so, but is Light that thorough? I feel like he's that thorough. So I don't know. But it's also like, you won't let them use any cameras in there. So it's also like, isn't that suspicious in itself? You guys are trying every possible means to capture Kira, but you're not going to use videotaping? Why? Like, it seems like that would be very, very suspicious. But anyway. And so Rester is like, but the Shinigami can only be sent by those who have touched a notebook. And he's like, well, being careful of something you can't see is difficult. And Nier is like, yeah, well, we just have to be difficult. So the one thing that makes me feel like Nier is maybe safe is that line where things we can't see, we still need to be vigilant. My only saving grace for Nier is that I feel like maybe he is aware and is trying to think of all the possibilities that Light could come up with as Kira to try to throw them off. And so maybe he's anticipating something like this. Because Nier is smart. He's very, very intelligent, right? He's got this Christmas tree of knowledge in front of him. How fitting that we're finishing this series right around Christmas. I feel like it's damn thematic, honestly. I feel like it's a thematic moment that we're finishing this right around the holiday season. But yeah, just like how fitting time-wise, right? But he has Ray Pimbar Jr., aka Giovanni, go after Mikami and keep track of him. So yeah, Light is testing out the room for everything, and Aizawa's with him because he's been the one in charge of like getting the room set up. And he's like, as soon as their secret meetings began, he received a phone call and the surveillance camera was moved. That seems so obvious, right? He's like, come on. He's like, the first thought that hit me was that they could communicate by writing messages. So is Light trying to like, what is Light's deal? Is he trying to like let Aizawa think that for whatever reason? I don't know. I'm like, I feel like Light has something major planned because he's done that with Elle before. Like, he has some big elaborate plan, but we just haven't connected all the dots. The fake notebook with Mikami seems like a lure. But honestly, with it being a lure, I wondered if they were setting up Mikami. I wonder if Mikami is being set up to be taken in as Kira, to like be the scapegoat, that Mikami is the one they're gonna be like, that's Kira, Mikami is, and then end up like destroying him, and once he's destroyed, the notebook's destroyed, it's like, oh, that's it, no more Kira, and then Light and Kiyomi ride into the sunset together to be Kira and second Kira. Seems like that could be the case, but I don't know. It's like, if they are setting up Mikami to be Kira and to be arrested by Elle and them, and to like pass him off as Kira, the one that needs to be destroyed, then what does Mikami think of this? That's the thing. What does Mikami think of all this? Like, is he eventually going to take action as his own person? Like, what does he think about all this? Is he going to admit to Nier that Kira told him to use that Kiyomi told him to use the fake notebook? Because here's the thing, Mikami doesn't know that Light is Kira. He just knows Kira and knows that Kira is connected to Kiyomi, but he doesn't know that Light is Kira. So Mikami is just far enough removed that I feel if Light wants to get rid of him, he can. I don't know what that will do, but... And so he's like, yeah, all that's left is the bathroom. And he's like, okay, I'll go check it. And then he's like, why does Light care so much about cameras and wiretaps? Why is Kira allowing the secret meeting to go on? So yeah, that's a really good point. Like why is Kira allowing this meeting to even happen? If Kira is keeping tabs on Kiyomi, why is he letting her meet with Light, right? That is suspicious. Like, wouldn't they meet every day? So wouldn't Kira get kind of like onto that? But they're planning something, right? They're just plotting out all these different things. He's like, something doesn't add up. And then he's like, if they are passing messages, and he leaves the fingernail at the bottom. He's like, in the event that they are writing notes, he's like, the only thing I can do is imprint on there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, it's like, okay. And so here's the thing. Light did not know about the meeting between Takeda and Misa. He didn't know about it. Or supposedly didn't know. He's like, I talked to Miss Amane alone yesterday. And he's like, about what? And then I like that Matsuda's like, Light's in trouble now. I'm like, Matsuda, honey, this is all just like a reality TV show. And Ida's like, really? He's like, you seem kind of happy about this. Like, come on. She's like, she said she was going to announce her engagement to you at the pop music festival. And she asked, what is Misa to you? So this was not planned. So Kiyomi met Misa on her own, right? So met Misa on her own. So she, like Mikami, is capable of making her own decisions, right? She is not totally reliant upon Light. She can do things without him telling her to, which, as Light, I'd be a little bit suspect of that, because it'd be like, things could have blown up by you talking to her. And then, of course, Matsuda's like, big trouble, big trouble. And Aizawa's like, shut up! But Aizawa's like, we're trying to investigate here, and you're treating this like it's a romance, a soap opera. He's like, I haven't been able to break it to her. She's nothing to me already. And then Light's like, that Misa, always making things difficult. But then he says, no, it's Takeda as well. Why are women so... I'm like, well, Light, if you hadn't killed the love of your life, maybe we wouldn't have this problem. Maybe if you hadn't killed it, you should have just stuck with Elle. He was trying to kill you, but at least he wasn't the thorn in your side like Misa and Kiyomi, right? Am I right, ladies? But yeah, so anyway, what I like about this is I am surprised that, so Misa, I'm wondering if she will confront Light about Kiyomi. That's what I'm wondering. Will she confront him about her and be like, aren't we getting married? Isn't this what this is? And what will Light say to that, right? Because even if Kiyomi thinks that he's putting up an act, she's concerned, like, do you still love Misa or do you love me? Like, what is this? What's going on? It's like, And he gives that, he's like, already, is that true? And she says, and Light he wrote down a damn novel in the time that she was talking, saying she was in charge of killing before you. She gained Kira's powers somehow and discovered that I was Kira. This is a lot of information to give Kiyomi because it's telling Kiyomi a lot of things at once. It's telling her, one, Kira's power doesn't have to go to only Light. That's what it's telling her. It's like somebody else can get the power of Kira. And that Misa discovered that he was Kira as well. He's like, it couldn't be helped. There's no other reason why I would choose an impulsive woman. So, but does that note say that Misa's no longer got that power? Amani was doing Kira's killings, but right now it's me. He had no choice with Amane, but he chose me. So Kiyomi has somewhat disillusioned herself into thinking that Light chose her, not Amane. Now, to be fair, Light did not choose Misa. Misa got the power on her own. But now that she knows that just anybody can get the power of Kira, I'm like, if I knew that, I'd be like, wait, so Light's not the one in control. That's the interesting thing about that, is Light's conversation reveals that Light is not the source of Kira's power. Light was given Kira's power, given the power of the Death Note, right? But so was Misa. So that information that Light gave Kiyomi that information to like tide her over and be like, oh no. Misa somehow had the power and she like chased me or whatever, but now she doesn't have it. I've chosen you to give you the power of Kira. I didn't choose Amane, so you're more special. I really love you. I was forced to love Misa. I would say that would bring up two red flags for me. One, the idea that Light is comfortable with using people and has used Misa and taken advantage of her. That'd be kind of like a red flag. Like, even if he claims he didn't have a choice and that she had the power and so he had to use her, he's still capable of using her. I'd be a little bit afraid of the fact that he could be using me too. Would be a little suspect of that. But also the fact that Light is not the source of Kira's power or the Death Note, that it comes from somewhere else. Meaning that other people that are more powerful than Light could gain access to that power too. So as Kiyomi, Light's kind of brushing it under the rug, being like, I just need to get this woman off my case and get her back on my side and have her quit questioning Misa and my loyalty. But he's given her a piece of information that Kiyomi's smart. So what are we going to do with that? Is that going to be something that comes up later, right? And he's like, Miss Takeda, believe me, you're the only one for me now. She's like, the only one for me now? That seems so unlike you. It's such a predictable line. Yeah, because anytime Light tries to be romantic, it doesn't work. It doesn't come across as genuine because Light's like the least romantic person in the world. But yeah, it seems, yeah. And then Aizawa's like, it's definitely unlike Light to give such a brutal excuse. He's like, these are my honest feelings. So Amane or Takeda, which one is it? And then there's the line that I wonder how many women. Yeah, so Amane or Takeda, which one is it going to be? I wonder how many women Light's manipulated. Or how many he plans on manipulating, right? And it said, well, he might be dating both. He's like, Takeda, do you really think you've said that too? Yeah, so Matsuda's like trying to be like, well, he could be dating both of them. It's like, I mean, technically he is, but it's not really working out. And then he's like, he's two timing. Am I that kind of guy? Do you think that's acceptable? And Izawa gets really upset. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And Izawa's like, shut up. It's like, I'm trying to listen here and think. That, yeah, Light is... And then Izawa is slowly realizing, wait a minute. Like, he talks about how he used to like Misa, but now he doesn't like her. But he's using it to get close to Kiyomi. It's like the gears are turning in Aizawa's head. And he's like, wait a minute. What if Misa was the second Kira? What if Kiyomi is going to become the second Kira? What do we do with this? She's like, it depends on you from now on, but I'll trust you. But she says, but I'll make things hell for you if you're lying. So Kiyomi don't play either. She says that I'll make things hell if you're lying. Well, get ready to make things hell because he is. I mean, I don't think he's lying in the fact that he only was with Misa because she had the power of the Shinigami eyes and could kill him. I don't believe that that's a lie. However, he did lie to her and say that he loved her and was doing everything for her benefit and stuff, and we all know that's a bold-faced lie. So, is Light above using Kiyomi? No, I don't think so at all. She's today's flavor of ice cream until he finds a better one. Right? And Light's like, he's like, She's like, I'll tell Kira. And she flirts with him with that, like, oh, I'll tell Kira. And he's like, oh, really, Kira, huh? Like, the flirting between them is almost gross. I'm like, ew. Ugh. It's like, it's so obvious. He's like, I know that the world needs Kira right now, but I've been thinking. He's like, I wonder if I'll ever be able to be together with you. In other words, I hate Kira because he's chosen you as a spokesperson. It's fine if he kills criminals, but we're not criminals. So yeah, which is so, God, that line. He's like, oh, well, I can't. He's like, it's so sad that I can't really be together with you because of Kira. Which it's kind of like Light's way of saying, I can't really be with you because, this whole Kira business. So it is just kind of, it's like he's almost trying to tell her he is using her, but letting it gently wash over. But he's saying, like, it's fine if he kills criminals, but we're not criminals. He's like, so, he's trying to, like, say you and I are innocent in all of this, right? We're not the bad guys. We're not the ones that Kira is extracting justice upon. We should have the right to be happy. And then he gives her another note and says, together, peacefully and happily. Say the following out loud, together, peacefully, happily. But that could only happen if Kira wasn't around. And so that gets the task force attention. He's like, yeah, if only Kira wasn't around. He's basically saying that he's using her. He's basically using her to tell the task force, be like, man, Kiyomi, we could be together, you and I, if only Kira was arrested. You should tell the task force we should arrest Kira to let them think that I've wooed you over to my side. So Light wants the task force to think that he has wooed Kiyomi to betray Kira. Which is so bizarre because Light is Kira. So it's like he wants to use Kiyomi to make the task force think that she's betraying Kira when really she's not betraying Kira, who's Light. She's helping Light, who's Kira. So it's just, oh my God. Right? And she says Kira should be arrested. But the way she said it is so wooden that, like, if I was Aizawa and Mogi, and Aizawa, he's just like, He's like, that would be something that you'd want us to hear, right? And Light's like, yes, make them think that we're going to arrest Kira. And she's like, oh, you're right. Yeah, Kira needs to be arrested. And he's like, in order for us to be happy. He's like, are you serious, Miss Takeda? And she's like, yes, but I'll need your help for that. You'll be putting yourself in danger. I'll be defying the police, and you'll be going against Kira and the whole world. She's like, is that all right with you? And then she says, and they're all waiting for her reply, right? And it's a long pause, almost like she's reading off a message pause, right? And they're like, man, he's like, that's one long pause as she's thinking about it. And then he's writing around a message, and she's like, it's fine. I'll help you if it means that we can be happy together. And then, of course, Matsuda's like, we did it! That was easy! Wow! She defied her god just for a piece of ass! It's like, oh my God! Yeah! It's like, wait a minute! like, Ide Matsuda seemed convinced by it, but I'm like, she was a worshiper of Kira. You're, Light, you're so full of yourself in this moment that Light's like, I've made them convinced that I convinced her over to my side because of my giant schlong. And it's like, are you joking? Because, yeah, he's basically convincing the task force that he's wooed Kiyomi away from her god to be with him. Like, he's so great that she would defy her god to be with him. I'm sorry, I was very vulgar, but it's just like, that's, what an ego boost for Light. He's like, yes, I'm that hot that she'll basically go against, she's a spokesperson for God, but she'll forego him to be with me because I'm just that great. And it's like, huh. But that's what Light thinks. He's got a God complex and he thinks that makes perfect sense. But Aizawa and Mogi are suspect. They're suspect. They're like, wait a minute. This seems a bit much, right? Seems something doesn't add up right. Yeah, and so Aizawa here is saying he's brought the conversation of two-timing Misa to get Taki to help him. Yeah. And of course, Light's like, this is all just part of my plan to fool you all, right? And so then we cut to Giovanni being like, Mikami is talking to himself. And I like that Nier has all the pieces on a chessboard. We've got visuals of his mouth, right? This is footage of Mikami during his break at work. Okay. And yeah, he's saying something. Did they notice the thing move? Show it to us in slow motion. Yeah, but the thing moved. Did they catch the thing moving? Yeah, what do they say here? But did they not see the piece of trash moving? Did they not see Ryuk making the piece of trash moving? I'm like, come on. I feel like Mikami's definitely set up to say something. He's looking over at Ryuk and listening to what Ryuk says and saying something. He seems to react to a scrap of paper at his feet and gave a small sigh. Okay. Yeah, it's like Ryuk's right there. I wonder if Nier is watching it. He's like, that Shinigami just gave me the notebook. Huh. And hasn't appeared since. So the question is, all right, so it's one of three things. Either one, Mikami is legit talking to himself, which he's had like moments of exposition and inner monologues, so that wouldn't be surprising. He's talking to himself and legit Ryuk hasn't been around since giving him the notebook. And it's all real. He's just crazy. So there's that. 2, Light is setting this whole thing up and is trying to get them to believe that Ryuk's not there when he is, and is just making them get closer to Mikami so that he can spring a trap on them. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Or 3, now that I think about it, he said that Shinigami is gone. So what if there was another Shinigami that's involved in all this? What if Sito came back and is involved in this and Mikami's working with him? How do we know? We don't. So I'm just waiting for that scene to come back and like bite us in the butt with something with it. I'm just waiting for it. That Shinigami just gave me the notebook and hasn't appeared since. And yeah, Nier looks more and more like L in this episode. The longer it goes on, it's kind of crazy. But the way he has, so it's funny. He's like, Mikami was given this notebook by a Shinigami. And if you look on there, he has, it's Misa on the chessboard alongside the Shinigami. I wonder if Nier's trying to like place which notebook was tied to Misa originally. But the Shinigami hasn't been following him. And so he's like, okay, well, then what do we do? And he throws the Shinigami toy out. Like, that's not a factor anymore. Okay. And so it's like, yeah, okay. That's the end of it. And so he's like, and then Matsuda was like, man, today was really amazing, but it would be tough to do this for hours. And Ide's like, you're getting a lot of kicks out of this. And Aizawa was like, I'm going to go to the hotel and check out. Okay. Which is kind of crazy. He's like, he's made all the reservations and checking out of the hotels. My thing is, why couldn't Light just check out of the hotel? Why did he have to have Aizawa go do it? Why did wouldn't Light be suspicious of Aizawa going and checking out of the hotels? But I guess Light just doesn't want to seem suspicious. And so Aizawa doesn't let not Light know he's there, which is curious. Okay. And then he goes back to check the notebooks and finds out that 2 of them are gone. The mark I made with my nail is gone. So he did it on all of them. He did it on the 4 notebooks in the room. 2 of them are not the same. Okay. He said, I had 4 notebooks. 2 of them are gone. Meaning that the room is the way that I left it, and the hotel staff hasn't come in yet, which means that they swapped them. Why have they been switched out with a new one? Yep. He's like, they're passing notes. Yeah. So the question is, does Light want Aizawa to know that they're passing notes? Is that just part of it? Like, what do we do with this? But I'm like, I don't know how in any situation Light having Aizawa and them know that they're passing notes would be a good thing. I don't think that would be the case. I feel like that would be suspicious no matter what. But again, it's Light Yagami. He could have some grand, immense plan going on, right? We just don't know. But they have Nier come in. Nier doesn't let Aizawa see his face completely. He just kind of like gives a little bit. And the funny thing is, like, when Aizawa sees him, he's like, well, there's no point in saying it if I'm blindfolded. And so they're like, fine. He doesn't have any weapons or cameras on him. I'm like, okay. He's like, then take it off. And then he almost seems surprised to see Nier there. And he looks like a little L. And I feel like Aizawa, he's just like, I feel like Aizawa's like, it figures you would be like L. It figures. Like, I feel like in that moment he just accepted. He was like, yep, you're like a little mini L. Okay. All right. Seems legit. He's like, I believe you. Yeah. He instantly makes the connection. He's like, yep, you were definitely L's successor. It all checks out. Okay, let's go with this. And he's like, Elle and Takeda are meeting almost every night. And he's like, I know. And he's like, then what about this? There's no mistake that they're passing notes. And he's like, Mr. Aizawa, please don't do anything unnecessary. I think this is interesting. That Nier basically, he pushes Aizawa to the side. And I think he's doing it kind of like Elle to save him. He's like, look, you're getting in deep. We're about to do some crazy things. You need to step back because you're going to get in too deep and you're going to get yourself killed. And he's like, I really want you to stay alive because we might need some more info from you. So he's doing it to save Aizawa and the others. He's like, I don't want you guys to die because Light seems like the type of person that might kill people just to save himself. So maybe you should get less involved. He says, don't do anything unnecessary. He's like, it's no longer a matter of simply finding evidence against Kira. He's like, we've already solved the case. We've cracked the code. He's like, it's not just finding evidence anymore. No. He's like, we have to kick Kira with complete defeat in order to stop him. That is the difference. Nier's like, I'm not like Elle. Elle wanted evidence and to like create a case and treat this like any other serial killer. He's like, this is beyond that. He's like, no, we have to completely defeat Kira in order to stop him. The crazy thing is he's switched out figurines. It's no longer the same figurine. Now it's like somebody with freckles and blue eyes and a mask and buck teeth that has Kira written on him. Oh, why? That's so bizarre. Like, why do you have this Kira face like this? He's like, we have to do this. He's like, I'll say this bluntly. You and the task force are not part of this battle. He's like, you guys can still go after Kira, sure. He's like, if you still want to capture Kira, then you're going to have to keep an eye on him as you've been doing. He's like, this battle isn't between you all. And he's like, the task force is kind of like, y'all are expendable to Light. So it's really between Light and I now. Like, you guys can keep keeping an eye on him because you need to know yourselves that it's Kira. He's like, there is a purpose to keeping watch over Elle. And I like it. It's part of my plan. So he has this plan. So Nier has a plan. I like that Nier, the figurine of Nier, his eyes are like going opposite directions. He looks kind of dorky, but there's like a little Mogi figurine, right? He's like, I have a plan. And then, God, the one of, he's like, I want you to cooperate that way. The one of Mellow looks like damn Chucky. It's got like the cut over its eyes. It looks like Chucky, like from the horror movies. He's like, in order to win against Kira and watch the end of Kira. That's bold words, sir. That is a bold plan. Bold words and a bold plan that he thinks he is going to stop and end Kira. Bold words, Cotton. We'll see if you follow through with them. I don't know. I feel like both Light and Near are they're kind of cocky right now, right? They both think that they've got each other by the balls, and I'm like, who really does? I'm like, I don't know. Because the thing with L, there was always an aspect of L that was kind of like almost chivalrous in the way that he like wanted to find justice. He wanted to do everything like the prim and proper appropriate manner, right? He wasn't afraid to get a little dirty, get a little seedy with the underworld, like with Weeby and Iber, but he kept to his guns, pretty much like the tried and true method. Nier is not afraid to play dirty. And that's kind of the big difference. He still doesn't want to kill Light and Mikami outright, but he also is playing dirty, right? He's not afraid to do that either. And he's telling Aizawa, he's like, look, he's like, you guys are in danger, so don't get crazy. Let this be between Light and I. Let this be our battle. You guys just kind of keep back, keep watch, because you need to, but, So then we have this rule. The death note will not take effect if you write a specific, it says victim's name using several different pages. Okay, so you can't use, like, you can't write a name over several different pages. You can't use, like, first name one page, second full page be this last name. That does not take effect. Doesn't work. But one page of the death note is treated like its own page. So the front and back of a page is considered one. So if you write the first name on one side, last name on the other side, it's still going to work. So that's a bit creepy. So yeah, poor Misa. Misa's like, she's like, there's only a few minutes left of this year, of the new year. And they're all getting ready for the pop festival. And of course, you know, Kiyomi has the pretty, like the two flowers. Again, like the OP, the two roses in her hair. What we do with that. And she has the full thing on. I also want to make note that there is that guy that was the pop idol star. He's there with the crazy hair. Looks like the hot Light Yagami right there. But Misa. And of course they're like, Matsuda, have you done your performance reports and everything? He's like, after Misa performs. And then they get taken by Lidner. She's like, sorry, we're going. Which I'm kind of glad Lidner got out of there, although Kiyomi could still kill her. We're the SPK and we want you to come with us. And so yeah. And then of course Kiyomi's like, oh no, Misa's not here. She's not arrived yet. I like that Kiyomi's like, oh no. Like she has to look sad, but I'm sure she doesn't care. And then of course everybody's like, where is she? And Light of course is like, wait, what? We don't really see Light's expression. They're like, unexpected things can happen. And he's like, Mogi didn't tell me anything about this. And so, of course, Misa's complaining. She's like, go back. I'm already known as the queen of last minute cancellations. I love that Misa, even in these trying times, even in those moments of all this tension with the series, Misa still comes in. She just fires in that one-liner. I'm like, girl, I love you. Be ridiculous, right? And Mogi's like, shut up. Stay calm. Like, they could shoot us. But Mogi says, I probably would have resisted it if I hadn't listened to what Aizawa said. But hearing about the notebook, there's no doubt. So yeah, both Mogi and Aizawa, they think that Light and Kiyomi are working together. They don't outright say that they believe Light is Kira, but they believe that Light and Kiyomi are working together, possibly with Kira. Now, whether Light is Kira or not, we don't know, right? So, but we cut to this whole idea, and Misa's like, okay, fine. Well, I guess she's like, what's going on? I feel bad for Misa, honestly. I feel bad for Misa because she's like, what's going on? Like, Misa just doesn't understand. what's happening. And Light's taken all of her memories of the Death Note away. So how could she know? And then we cut straight to Light, who's in front of 3 computer screens, you know, saying, what is it? He's like, Mogi and Misa and Mane have gone missing. Yes, I've taken them into my custody. Like, Nier's like, And Light's like, why? And that big shot of Nier and his eyes are so wide. He looks like the cat that ate the canary. He looks very much like, he looks more sinister than L. Even when L had the really wide eyes, he never quite looked like that. Not that sinister, no. He's like, just in case. And he's like making this big Marvel shoot. He's like, Nier, kidnapping and confinement is a crime. You just stop this. I'm like, I like that Light throws. He's like, you guys are committing a crime. Kira could kill you for that. It's like, Nier's like, go right ahead. Yeah, Nier's like, sure, try. He's like, no, I don't think so. He's like, Miss Imani and Mogi agreed to cooperate. So it's not really kidnapping. He's like, I'll put him on the line. Here you go. Here you be. And there they are in the room. And Mogi's like, yeah, I agreed to this. And then Misa's like, okay, there is a weird animation moment where Misa says light, but her lips don't move. So that was a little animation moment where I was like, oh, how weird. And like, it seems that Nier's detaining you. Is it true you agreed to it? And I like that you can't see Light's face. So the question is, what's Light going to do about it? Because yeah, do you kill Mogi and Imani? Do you do that? What do you do? Right? How does this go? So that's the curious thing, right? The curious thing is that Light has no reason to kill Mogi and Imani. Not really. They don't really have anything that they could share that would be pertinent. I mean, Misa doesn't remember anything about the Death Note. So what use does it have to kill them at this point? There would serve no purpose, right? But Light's just like, why are you there? And Mogi's like, yeah, I agreed to it. And Light's like, And Mogi, I love that Aizawa was like, Mogi, dude. And Misa's like, well, I was against it. But Mogi said it'd be better if we act as we did, or otherwise we could get hurt. And so like, it's fine if you both agreed to it. And of course, El just Light immediately cuts it off, like, damn it. And Nier's saying, for the time being, I'm excluding Amane, who was suspected of being the second Kira. Yeah. Basically, Nier's like, I'm getting Misa out of the way. She's out of the picture. She's not even considered as a threat right now. I'm just getting her out of the way so she can't be used. He's like, you should know what this action means. Okay. So Nier is expecting that Light will know now that he has suspected Misa of being the second Kira, but he's getting her out of the way. Right? He's not targeting her anymore. That he's on to Light. So Nier is planting a trap, right? He's planting a trap, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel like Light's gonna get out of it somehow, but I just don't know how. Or maybe he won't. I don't know. And so that's when Giovanni goes into the locker room. The thing about Mikami that is weird is that he is insanely routine. He doesn't ever get out of that routine, which is kind of creepy. He's just like on the dot going there. And I share in Giovanni's like stress, right? I share in that stress where he's like, he goes there every week. And so we see him sharpening up Mellow's little figurine there. So he's like, okay. He's like, if there's a Shinigami there, I'll see him. He's like, I could die. And Nier's like, yeah, you could. I'll have Rester do it if you can't do it. But Giovanni agrees to. Like, the links at which that they'll go to try to prove that this whole Kira thing is real and that it's Light it's crazy. And the thing of it is that Nier doesn't force. That's a big difference too. Light manipulates Kiyomi and Mikami. But Nier doesn't really manipulate. She's just very blunt. He's like, well, if you won't do it, Rester's going to do it. So that's up to you. Whatever you want to do. And leaves it kind of up to Giovanni to choose to do it. And I fully thought Mikami was going to come in and see him. I thought Mikami was going to waltz in, catch him with the notebook, and it was going to be a thing. But no, he manages to touch it. he manages to touch it, and he's like, oh, but it's a fake, right? It's not real. He's like, I can't confirm any Shinigami at this time. And he's like, how long can a person be controlled before their death? And he's like, 23 days, judging from the data from the Yotsuba's experiments. So the Yotsuba clan confirmed that. Okay. So while Light was in Boy Scout mode, the Yotsuba clan confirmed the 23-day rule. That you can be controlled up through your death for 23 days. And so he's like, okay, well, if Giovanni doesn't die within 23 days, then we'll know that he's not being controlled and he's not seeing a Shinigami, and we'll go to from there, right? And so this was New Year's Day, right? He's like, I'm going to confront L if that happens, if Giovanni is still alive 24 days from now. Oof. And Rester's like, what are you doing? You're going to confront L? What? So January 3rd, so that was on New Year's Day, right? So this is 2 days later. So, I don't know. Yeah, because that would be January, 24 days later. It'd be like January 25th. Okay. So it's the 3rd. And so we go, Miss Takada, you had quite some trouble at the Pop Song Festival, didn't you? She's like, yes, to think that Amane would go missing. And they were passing notes again, right? It says, give T the order to tell you once everything has been confirmed. Once you get the message, send me a text or something. That you says you want to meet me quickly. Okay. And so the 6th, we have Giovanni going back and picking the lock. Okay. And he's like, a photograph. Yes, I want to see how everything's written in it. Okay. So, okay, I want to go back to this note right here. I'm going to have to watch the English dub to see how they say it in there, because I feel like everything's a little bit different there. So, but Light tells Kiyomi, they talk about the Pop Song Festival a few days later, and then he says, but this part's weird, where he says, give T the order to tell you. Okay, so it's weird because it's like, well, she's T. So it's like, give herself the order to tell you that once everything has been confirmed, once you get the message, text me or something. I'm going to listen to that to the English dub because that line's weird. The translation's weird. I'm going to listen to it in the English dub and see what it sounds like. It's very odd. Okay. And so he's like, I want a photograph of everything and seeing how it's all written to see his handwriting. Okay. He's like, any patterns as to how it's being written. And then you have Mikami, which the Lego of Mikami is actually terrifying. I'm like, Watari's dead. Who's making these Legos of these characters that look very similar to the ones in this story? Who's doing this? And he's saying if there are any quirks and what kind of notebook it is. So he wants to see, he's like, I want everything in detail with my own eyes. And so, yeah, God. And the fact that they're all written exactly the same is actually terrifying. I'm like, nope. And he's like, okay, he still keeps on doing it. Nobody's suspecting it. But you know what? Even if it's a fake notebook, even if it's fake, it's still giving Nier some information, which is, even if this is part of Light's plan, it's still kind of weird that he's letting Nier get all of this info. But I guess maybe it's just to distract him. It's just to make him think that he's doing well. Maybe that's it. He's like, the handwriting matches that of Mikami's records that he wrote as a prosecutor. It's definitely his handwriting. Okay. We can do this. I'm like, anytime somebody says we can do this, I'm like, it's a bad sign. I'm like, but God, that look on his face, it's so cat-like and creepy. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. Yeah. I don't know. So I don't know. I feel like as much as I want Nier to succeed and catch Light, I don't know how he's going to do it. I feel like the whole fake notebook thing is going to bite him in the butt. And I know Light's planning to use that as like his trump card. So the only thing is if Nier has anticipated the fact that it's a fake notebook and has worked beyond it, but I don't know. We have 3 episodes left. We haven't seen Mellow in forever. Misa's still in custody with Mogi. Aizawa knows that Light is possibly Kira. He's working with Kiyomi. We haven't seen Ryuk. It's just like everything, I feel like this feels like the calm before the storm, and everything's about to go haywire in the next 3 episodes, and I'm not ready. I feel like this episode lulls you into a false sense of security. It's like, oh no, Light's got everything planned out. He's fine. Nier's got everything planned out. They're fine. And nothing's about to be fine. But, oh my God. I feel like maybe if Light has planned this all out and it's this elaborate plan that is going to defeat Nier, I'm not going to be surprised. But I could see somebody being like, well, how could Light slip up if Nier manages to defeat him? And I honestly think that if that is the case, if Nier actually is going to win this, knock on wood, crossing fingers, but if he's actually going to win and somebody's like, well, how could Light have been defeated? I'm like, Light thinks he's got everything all figured out. He's got like the perfect wingman to help him, unlike Misa. So I'm like, I get where Light would think he's got it all planned out and that he can use these individuals, but I just don't know. I just don't know. So I guess we'll see, right? Right? But in any case, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. Please no spoilers. I got 3 more to go, baby. And then I'm good. And so we'll see. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 35 of Death Note.